This is Osakimi again, and this is Observations with Otsu. I am taking a look at the weekly coins. I've done this for quite a while now, maybe a couple months. So if you're used to this, you know what this video is about. If you're still not used to it, please subscribe. But also, this is going to be a weekly overview of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Binance Coin, and total market cap. That's usually the lineup. We might flip that or change that depending on any news or important coins for the week. But that's the general lineup. So we're going to take a look at what happened this past week. We're going to take a look at what we think might happen this week, and then we'll go on from there. So that's pretty much the roundup for the review. If you are, like I said, if you're new, like, subscribe. But if you are not aware, I am running a group called Apex Academy. This is day 2 of a 12-week course. So we're in week 1. Day 2 of week 1 is a 12-week course. We're going over 3 different strategies: A-Rune, price action, trend, and momentum. I've talked about it extensively on previous videos. It's on my pinned tweet, so I don't want to waste too much time with that, but just know it has already started, but you can still sign up by the end of this week. December 12th is the cutoff date to sign up for monthly subscriptions. If you want to sign up for the full 12-week subscription, you can still do that by the end of December, so we still got some time if you want to sign up for it all together. And the pricing will also be available. The links will be available. Everything will be available on my Twitter. I'll leave it in the description as well. Don't want to waste too much time because I've talked, upwards to an hour just explaining what the academy is. It's going very well. We had about 6R in positions that we've taken profit on in the past 24 hours. We're still looking at another 2 or 3 today that's still pending, and I won't tell you those positions obviously, but it's been going very good. I also got a trading portfolio there where I've got $5,000 of my own money on the line, where I'm going to trade actively with you guys as part of the academy using Apex Academy indications or scenarios. So everything is organic, and so that's what the Apex Academy is. Like I said, if you are interested, sign up in the description or in my pinned tweet. So this video, however, is for everyone. This is a public video. I'm going to go over the weekly conditions. So let's go to the total market cap first, as I usually do. A lot of people tend to use, I'm going to clear this chart. So a lot of people, when they do reviews, they do the S&P 500, they do the NASDAQ. They look very much focused on stocks. As you guys know, I've been talking more and more vocally about how if you are not a stock trader, if you're not into indexes or equities, you are doing much more harm than good when it comes to trading cryptocurrencies. Now, if you do trade stocks, even if you trade maybe like 20%, 25% stocks, I still think it's worth looking at the S&P and the NASDAQ. This is hard for me because even when I traded stocks, and I traded stocks 8 years ago when I started, 8 or 9, I didn't even use the S&P. I didn't even use the NASDAQ, and both of those are indexes, right? So I looked at pure stocks. I always have. In crypto, I looked at pure coins, because when I joined in 2017, that's all there was. There was no index. People back then and didn't look at the S&P or the net. They've only looked at it now because of the pandemic and the inflation, right? So why did we make that switch? And there is a good reason why we did, because risk assets like Bitcoin and other altcoins, or other coins rather, they were sensitive to a worldwide pandemic. Well, now I think this is starting to decrease. I don't think they're all correlated to each other anymore, and I don't necessarily think they ever were long term. They may have been for short term, and I'm not here to disagree or agree with that. I'm just saying, like, and I've mentioned this before. If you're looking at a coin like Chainlink, and that's the example I did. If you're looking at Chainlink, you're looking for a correlation between Chainlink and ETH, which means you're also looking for a correlation between ETH and BTC, and then BTC and the S&P and the Nasdaq, and then both of those you're looking at correlations from a different asset class, by the way, and you're looking at them based off of the news. So what you're really doing is you're getting mastered by the news, you're getting mastered by these indexes. Now, again, if you're trading stocks, if you have found, if you are either trading stocks or if you have found a concrete way to profit off of crypto while looking at stock indexes, then keep doing that. I'm not gonna tell you to stop doing something that's effective, but don't just think like, just don't look at a random Twitter personality and say like, well, hey, these guys are using S&P, maybe I should too, but because I suck at trading. Like, no, like, don't just add something that you don't know is going to work or not. So that's the confusion. Me personally, I've found to, if I reduce my noise as much as possible, that's more effective to me. The personal way that I trade is pure charts. I don't look at any news really. I mean, I'll pay attention to black swan events like the FTX scenario. Um, I'll look at some macro news, and I'll get those in my feed anyway. But like daily news, like random daily news, like Celsius or whatever, they got something going in their favor. I can't remember exactly, but for the lawsuit that's going to turn around, they're going to get their money back. Blah blah blah. That's a non-event for me. Now that may be an event to some, and that's okay. If it is, it's okay. Like I said, if it works for you, it works for you. That's okay. Doesn't work for me most of the time, and that includes FOMC events. That includes the inflation index events, et cetera, et cetera. And you can see on this daily time frame, like tell me when we got those CPI events. Like tell me when we got, the FOMC, the inflation, all that. Any of those events that happened more than once this year, tell me where they're at on the chart. And unless you actually have been paying attention for the entire year, you don't know. That's the thing. Right off the bat, just plainly looking blindly at the chart, I don't know myself. And that's by design. That is a feature. That is not a bug. Because what I can see and what I've seen plainly for this, and I've been saying this over and over again, is we had, you can see this better on Bitcoin, but we had a massive higher high with a lower low. That's bearish. That's a bearish divergence. Now we can argue about how many candles that is, and we might be able to look at a different time frame. But the point is that a massive higher high with a lower low is bearish. So we should expect at this higher time frame with this bearish of a decline that we should expect this to happen. That's not unusual to me. It was not unusual to me. Let's see right here. That was so. This candle was roughly the beginning of this year. We have not made a high this year technically, if you don't count this little wick. So we have not made it back up. That's by design. Like I had an idea that that would be a high probability scenario because we went to 60, we went to 65,000. I think we went higher than that even. So I had that calculated in my mind. So these events that happened, this bearish PA didn't necessarily happen because of those events. Now, they may have impacted, the that day, but a lot of times they didn't. Honestly, I remember they made a volatile few hours, but long high time frame scenarios, this was going to happen anyway. Now, those may have played into it, yes, but what I'm saying is, I'm saying all this to say, look at those events and which ones caused you more distractions than focus. And the ones that cause you distractions, you get rid of. There's always going to be an event. So like don't like the worst advice that you could hear from me is to say to ignore all the news, and then tomorrow, I think there's a couple meetings this week, like freaking out when people start buzzing about it again. Like, just if they have not made you productive, then I personally ignore them. So I say all that to say, that's like looking at price action, looking at charts has been way more beneficial for me personally. So we'll go to the total on the weekly, kind of get a overview. So yeah, so I almost forgot why I said that. So like the reason I had said all that is that I focus on the total market cap as my overview versus stock indexes. Um, I just don't see a reason to look at an asset class that isn't the same, especially an index, over an individual stock. And like I said, we in crypto we have indexes now too for crypto specific indexes, and we didn't have them in 2017, and that's okay. I'm used to it. It doesn't seem to benefit me to learn them, so I don't. So anyway, going on, got the weekly total market cap. We had a good bullish week last week. We didn't really, I mean, we dipped down pretty good, but we stayed above. So that's relatively good. We have, on a price action standpoint, we had this swing low order block. We're still below it, so that's what we're contesting for this week. I don't necessarily think that we are going to climb up above just yet. So this is going to be a good region to consider. Is this going to make for a higher low? Is this going to retest down? If you are bearish, this is where you want to look for shorts across the board. If you are not short, I would just wait it out. If you're long, I would wait until we climb above this region. So something like this, and then long this area, and then go above. So that's what I would look at if you're trying to long. So I've mentioned this before, that we do have a divergence on the 2-week. Got the higher low, got the lower low, so this is valid. If this breaks, I think the funny thing is like we have a very bearish sentiment right now, and that may play out true. I'm not going to discount that, but it remains to be seen, considering we got the 2-week div. I think I've also mentioned it. We got the liquidity gap here, so demand is going to be a little more restrictive, a little more firm. And on the 2-week, we also got the A rune turning into a bullish wedge from the get-go. Usually it goes into a consolidation, like this parallel pattern right here, and then it goes into like a wedge pattern like this. And this is a good example here. We had a consolidation here, which turned into a wedge here, which led to the massive downside. When a wedge happens, that turns into an increased trend on whatever that favors. And even though the trend is bearish, wedges tend to favor the trend below it. And the reason being is the bullish trend that's actually zero can no longer go, like you can't have a trend go longer. You can't have a trend go below dead, basically. But you can have the trend on the bearish side go super down. So that usually indicates upside momentum, reversal, what have you. So on a price action standpoint, that does remain to be seen one way or the other. So right now, we are on this retest here. On the daily, so far we have a failure here. You saw the sell signal just now, so that's something to consider. If it remains bearish for the day, that is a bearish sign. Have conflicting issues here. RSI is failing, so this is currently bearish. This has not crossed up yet, so there's no reason to think so. So far, this is looking a little bearish on the daily. So let's go to Bitcoin here. So get rid of all this here. There's too many buttons. All right, so on the weekly, had a similar scenario. I thought I got rid of that. So nice bullish week, same kind of wick scenario. If we put the same swing low order block, we're not quite there yet, so that makes me think that Bitcoin could go on a run, while other ones do not, and that's something to consider as well. But otherwise, Aaron is in the bullish consolidation. Nothing really to say on the RSI or the awesome oscillator. So let's go to the daily. Again, got that same drop. We kind of want to hold this level. From a price action standpoint, we kind of want to hold this. So I'm not interested in shorts. We do have a bullish breaker here, and I've mentioned that I think in other channels that we could potentially go down to the 16.4 range. So these are two options. I wouldn't long this currently until we make a new high on the daily, and this is possibly a good return scenario. The problem with this one, though, is that if we go down here, there's a very high chance that this will continue. So this sets up kind of like can't remember the name of the pattern, but it kind of leads for like a pump fake. And so the chances, even though this should probably retest, if I'm being honest, it should probably also continue as well. So that's something to consider. I'm a little more long-term bullish. I'm very bullish on a quarter basis, but I'm slightly bullish on a daily basis. And as far as mid-time frame, it's up in the air. It just depends. So that's kind of the scenario we got on the daily. On the 4 hour, you can kind of see why we're a little in between some things right now. Let's go to a line chart really quick and kind of line this up here. So we still got some breathing room here. But if we switch back to the candles, this looks a little bit more discombobulated or just messy. What I can see here is we got kind of like an order block, swing high order block here. We got we also, I'll delete that because this is more important to me. This is a bullish breaker scenario. So again, this is also why I think we might hit the 16.4, 16.5 region. Now I want to clarify that that's not bearish to me, by the way. Like when I say price is going to go down, I don't necessarily mean that price is going to be bearish. When I say prices go up, I don't think it's necessarily indicating that it will be bullish. So prices going up and down is just a natural way. Like how many candles do you usually get in a row? Like this was like the FTX thing, right? And that's a black swan event. And you know, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So at the most we got 6 candles in a row. You probably got like 5 or 6 here. So you need to get used to the fact that candles will go up and down consistently. You need to get used to the fact that price will fluctuate at any time between 2 and 3%. That's usually my rule. So that's why for most cases, unless I'm doing a low time frame scalp, I always give myself an extra 2 to 3% of breathing room for my stops. And I do that because you know, you never know what to expect. Like we had a pretty bearish morning today, so to speak. Like this was this morning's candle, like the 4 hour candle. And so that's a pretty terrible candle to experience if you're high leverage, and I'm never high leverage. So that's something to consider. And one of the reasons I'm not high leverage is because I know that these things can happen, right? So like always expect at any time that 2 or 3% is going to happen at any given point. And one reason you can also see that is all these wicks. All these wicks indicate that price had fluctuated between those areas, right? So you should always expect some kind of wiggle room equivalent to these wicks. But as far as that goes, if you go, I think a 12 hour shows it. Yeah, we got like a double top here on the RSI. So this is a little concerning. If I was forced to make a trade, I would I would consider I would consider a small pullback up. Um, this is not good here, by the way. So I would probably, if I was absolutely forced to make a trade, and I had to enter here, which I probably wouldn't, I'd I'd probably go something like this. And that I usually don't do 2 hour trades. Those are usually too weak for me. I usually like 3 or more. And the reason I did this is because you had the breaker up here that failed. It faded, so this should not retest. But in case it does, I didn't want to put my stop here, which I originally wanted to, because that's kind of like a support block on the upside. So I put a little bit past that. If I wanted to be more aggressive, I probably would expect something like this, and go that direction. So that's something to consider. This would be a little more aggressive if I get the chance to do that. Otherwise, it would be the other one. That's if I was forced to. As of right now, I'm not really doing too many shorts. If I do shorts, they're much more rare. We do have the bullish A-ring consolidation coming here, which is potential, but we still have the failure of the RSI and the AO. So let's go to Ethereum weekly. Let's get rid of all this. All right. Again, another bullish week. Didn't have much of a wick as we did last time. From a price action standpoint, we are still holding. If you go on the basic order block, it is holding here. And I think the smaller time frames show something different, but the weekly is pretty healthy here. There's not really any concern. I've said this before, I'm not concerned about 3 digits right now. This should hold, in my opinion, and we should act as if it will hold. The bullish A-ring consolidation is still consolidating. We still have, with 72%, we still have about 10 more weeks of this to go. So if we don't make a new low within 10 weeks, I think this is going to be much more bullish than you expect. And so I'm not saying we can't go lower or nothing like that. I'm saying, like, I think we are radically underestimating how powerful this section could be on the bullish side. So we'll just see. Current candle's not doing good, but it's only Monday, and I don't care about current candles. So from a daily standpoint, this is where it gets a little choppy, right? So we got the order block here. It faced off of the mid. So with the mid, I usually just do like a fib retracement of the same thing and just hold the 50. And I can just eyeball that because I've done it for so long, but we want to hold this level. If we break below here, again, that's that pattern that we're going to swing down. That's what people are concerned about, because this could lead a failure of this. So that's probably why people are concerned, and there's a good reason. But again, just play the levels right now. It's not overly bearish to me. It can turn bearish, and I really think a lot of people just don't understand the concept of bullish and bearish. Like, they just say it as kind of like an abstract idea, and people just interpret it how they want to, and that's just not the way to do it. So if you want to long, honestly, I would just wait to the 14 area, and you could probably long here, but as well. But it's I would focus much more, and I've said this before, I'll say it so many times. I've said this so much publicly over and over again. I would long a trend of the 4-day. And that's not exciting statement, but these blue lines indicate buying here, holding until it goes here, like just this one alone, right? So we would have bought here, and yeah, we would have went down 17%, which is not overly good, but by the time we sold, we had 115%. And if you up your, do that accordingly, but that's if you can just make a casual 115% just by holding trend, I think that's good. So I don't think there's it. How privileged are we to think that 115% is bad, right? So that's where this is such an underestimated trend, in my opinion. So Anyway, going on 4 hour, kind of holding the line. This is a little more structured than the Bitcoin one. I'd say that basically qualifies. These are really tricky because I kind of hate drawing these trend lines, to be honest, because sometimes they fail anyway. So if they fail, I'm looking at least right here, mid 12s, and then we also kind of had a breaker here as well. So this is something also to consider. So those are the two areas I'd be concerned about on the downside. If you're bullish, I would want this to bounce, and then I would honestly wait for this to break, maybe like right here, and tag the lows and go up from there. So that's what I would do with that. Going to Solana, kind of had a lot of quietness lately and made a good recovery. It's kind of consolidating here. Well, let's go to the weekly first. So going on the weekly, let's see. Still looking pretty bad. Had a bearish week while other ones had bullish weeks, and this current week is bullish, which is kind of inverse what everybody's doing, right? So nothing really to see here. A bull consolidation here. The other indicators are just kind of doing jack on the weekly, and this is a hard one to gauge because it was so influenced by FTX much more than the other ones were. So it's a little bit tricky. So on the daily, I can't get this going here. So had the upside momentum, still kind of struggling here. This is the order block range that we're still on, and I honestly wouldn't touch this until we get a break on either side of this range. On the 4 hour, we can see how it's kind of struggling here, but it did retest here, so this could be advantageous. I personally am not trading Sol right now. I would like it to make a macro move again on the 4-day, but I would like to see it make above $15, honestly. And then this is a good structure to hold long term, and I would do something like this, and then maybe like this, wider stop, maybe a bigger risk. I'm not really sure, but don't make a trade just based on what I just said. By the way, that's just what I would personally do, and I'm not sure I would even do it. But this is kind of a scenario that I would look for. I'm not interested in trading Solana on the short term, just because it's just behaving much too differently, and there's so much other coins out there like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Aave, things like that. We got Binance Chain is the last one up. I've talked about this in plenty of videos. This is much weaker than I think people realize. I did mention that this could go up. That's if this A-ring consolidation pattern pans out. So far it is, but overall I am concerned on a daily, or no, got weakness here, but I think we'll skip the daily, and so I'm concerned about this one first. So if you saw, where's it at? So these lines, I think it will come up here definitely. I also think it'll come down here, and I think it'll come down first, and mainly because of this bullish breaker right here. So this is my concern. When it does, I don't honestly trade Binance too much. Probably not as much as I should, definitely. But I kind of want to just make a hard entry right here if we get it, and then just target to the skies, like something like this. And it'll take longer than that probably, but this is something I'm looking at for the long term. Binance Coin is a coin that will stay around. I think everybody's probably aware of that. So I think it makes complete sense to hold it for the long run, and this is the scenario that I see for that. So anyway, kind of a brief overview of summary of what I just said. Like right now we're just kind of in the middle, kind of in a middle zone. A lot of a lot of coins are starting to make a small retrace. I still think things are probably going to go good for the week. We'll see. That can always change. But also, um, I tend to not focus on news, and I think that anybody that doesn't pay attention to stocks should not pay attention to stocks or news. So that's kind of my overview for these coins. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe if you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening for so long if you didn't, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.